I'm Christine Kane, and this is Waterfall Glen. Why don't you come with me and we'll do a really quick sketch of the waterfalls. It won't be that hard. I'll show you how. Come on. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do when I sketch here is I'm going to draw just a really quick loose sketch with graphite. And when I start, I always want to figure out what my horizon line is in the picture here. So I'm going to start with a horizon line near the top because I want to get most of these little falls in. And the horizon line is going to be where the water touches the ground, above the falls. And that's where the water line is. Now above it we have a little bank here with some tree roots. We have this one big tree coming up like this. I'm going to sketch that in really quick. And then we start having some rocks to the left here. And then the falls come down. They wrap around. This is going to be water. The rocks come down like this. Go that way. We've got a bunch of nice rectangular shapes. I'm just going to sketch that in. We've got some water coming down here. And we've got a little bit of water coming on the left here, so I'm going to mark that off. So right here, I'm just going to draw where the rocks begin and where they stop. I'm making an informal map so I know where I'm going to paint. And down on the bottom here, this is going to be all water. And I never worry about my graphite marks. I usually don't even erase them. I just keep them right in there. On the right here, we have these beautiful yellow wildflowers. So I'm going to make a reference where the green and the yellow are. It's going to be some grasses growing on the side. Some yellow wildflowers there. And in my sketch there's going to be absolutely no sky. This is all just the waterfall and the greenery around it. Sometimes people say that the hardest season to sketch is summer because all you see is green and green and green. So the trick is just to paint different shades of green, different color greens. So when you go from one tree to the next, just make it a different shade of green. And I'll show you a trick to that later too. So I got my rough sketch here of water, greenery, rocks. These are all nice rectangular shapes. There's a lot of horizontal lines going in and out of the rocks. And I like to just, with my pencil, go back and forth and in my mind see what I'm going to do here. Now when I come out by myself and I sketch, I'm saying these things in my head. I'm saying, you know, what kind of lines do I see here? You know, where does this tree stand compare to this rock? I'm saying these things in my head when I sketch. Going to roughly draw this out, and I am done with my rough sketch. Okay, first I'm going to show you my palette. I've got a bunch of colors on here that I squeeze with the watercolor tubes. I squeeze on here and I let it dry for about 48 hours, and you could reuse it over and over and over again. Some of the colors, I have to be honest, that I wrote them down on the back and they all wiped away, so I try to keep up with the names, and I'll yell out what colors I'm using as I go along. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint some greenery with this with the watercolors. And the difference between the greenery in the back and the greenery in the front is the sun is shining on the right side, so that's going to be a nice bright yellow green color. And in the back, everything's in shadow. It's going to be more of a blue green. So I'm going to take some sap green and mix it up with some cobalt blue. And I'm just going to go in the back here. And I'm going to drop down some color. I'm going to go around my tree bark around here. Go around it. And I'm going to just drop in some color. Now, with watercolor sketching, I like to do it fast and loose and free, and it doesn't have to look exact. We're just remembering the day here. So I'm just coming in and dropping some more color. I'll come back there later when that's dry and I'll add a little bit of more color to it. But right underneath here is a bank, and it's mostly brown. So I'm just going to wash my brush off. I'm going to grab some umber here, and I'm just going to go in and roughly mark that. Drop in some brown. I like to skip around and add a lot of white space to my sketch. It just livens it up and gives it some breathing room, so I don't have to paint in every single section of my painting. Maybe while that's wet, I'm going to add a little color to it. I'm going to drop in some red here and there, let that move around, let the watercolor do what it's going to do. And now when working with watercolor, everything's going to dry pretty light, and that's okay because we could add more color to it later on top. So now I'm going to take a different color brown, a light umber there, and I'm going to sketch in where my tree's sticking out. And I can come back later and add more color to that. It's where the tree is coming out. And now I'm going to skip a section down here, and I'm going to add the water on top of the falls. Now the water is not blue, it's showing a lot of ground under there. So we got a lot of green color and a lot of umber color. A lot of yellows and greens. So I'm just going to skip a section here and paint in where that water is. That is just the water on top of the falls.